Welcome to Hanratty'S Huddle with your host, Terry Hanratty. I'm Dave Teromeo joining you today. And Terry, let's jump right into it. Let's get into that big Notre Dame win last weekend.
It was a very big win. I think I got to pat myself on the back a little bit because I predicted the win, and I predicted it in a pretty good fashion also. And I think we could really break the game down into two spots, obviously the offense and the defense. So we had, against Louisville, we just had horrible pass protection for the quarterback. And I thought Sam Hartman threw 3 interceptions in that game, but I only blamed one on him because I think the offensive line breakdown really caused the other two. But I think in this game, I think they did a lot better. You know, they protected him a lot better. But I still want Notre Dame to, because they got Clemson coming up. And then they're going to have a big bowl game. So, you know, obviously I don't think into any kind of playoffs, but into a good bowl game.
Sure.
So they're going to need some more protection for the quarterback. And we got into it last time. And, you know, a lot of stuff we're going to say here is repetition. And I think football is repetition. I think that's what really makes this game is that you have to have great repetition. You know, Vince Lombardi used to tell everybody, I'll tell you that I'm running the Green Bay sweep. It's up to you to stop it. That's it. So the repetition after one after another, but what you really have to do is to get the quarterback outside of where all the trouble is. If you have rush coming in inside, you get him out, and it's a twofold. You give the quarterback more time and room to throw the ball. Plus, you frustrate the hell out of the defense because they can't get to the quarterback because he's running the other way. Right. So I think you really have to do that in order to be successful. Not every time. You just have to know, occasionally do that just to show the defense something. And also you get the slow screens. You know, I think I defined it last week where the slow screen, you see that bubble screen to the running back or to the wide receiver. The slow screen is when you drop back, you let the pressure come in and you dump the ball up. Right. Well, the mistake in that, which very few people even know about, is that you have to throw that against a zone. If a quarterback reads man-to-man or zone, he goes through with it. Right. If he reads man-to-man, you got to check out of it. Okay. Because who is ever receiving the screen pass, he's in a man-to-man coverage. Right. So that guy's going to be right on him.
Come on up. Sure.
You want your secondary and your linebackers to drop their depth, their 6 to 8 yards. Right. Then you throw the screen, get your lineman time to get out and get into the blocking. Yep. Then you run the screen. Right. I mean, you can run it. It can be successful against man-to-man if someone slips or if someone makes a great block. Right. But in order to be consistent, you have to run this against zones.
Sure. Makes a lot of sense when you think about it. So let's talk a little bit more about Hartman and his play, because obviously the Louisville game is an outliner because, you know, he really, like you said, you only blame one of the 3 interceptions on him. He's had a nice season, and he's a good player. So, but Notre Dame, just to clarify, is off this week, correct?
We have a bye this week.
A bye week, yeah. And then,
a guaranteed win.
Guaranteed win. You gotta love those. So Clemson is playing Miami this week. It's a pretty big game. They're both 4-2, and then Notre Dame will follow up and play that Clemson game.
Well, we play after the bye. We play Pitt. At home.
Oh, okay.
So Pitt, you know, clocked Louisville last weekend. So go figure.
Go figure.
You know, Pitt was 1-4 going into the Louisville game. Louisville had the big win against us. Yep. And they go into Pittsburgh, and Pitt beats them pretty good.
Yeah, that's
true.
So
you can never tell. And you know, I think we brought it up before, is that with this portal, a bad team can become good overnight.
That's right.
There are so many. I mean, you can go out and buy yourself a team. Get yourself a team. Actually, nowadays with the NIL, you're buying yourself a team.
That's right.
But you know, you can turn around on a dime. So it's really an interesting times.
It is interesting. It's different times, and you know, for those of us who are kind of old school, you know, it's a little hard to get used to, but it is what it is. You have to, you know, this is what, you know, we can't control it. I think there will be changes over the years to the transfer portal and this NIL stuff, but right now you have to play the game. If you're a coach or an administrator, you have to go get the players that are going to help you win.
You do. I mean, and it's the portal now. It used to be in the old days where if a kid transferred, you had to have he had to be going into graduate studies, and he actually had to go to class.
Right.
But nowadays, I really think it's just the Wild West.
It is.
You want to go get 6 or 8 kids, just go get them and bring them in and line them up.
You're right. It's literally the Wild West, not just for college football, for college basketball as well. Because I was talking to somebody today who's in that world, and he said, this is the time now where kids are unhappy with the playing time that they see they're going to get. They're going to enter the transfer portal, and if it's their first time transferring, they're immediately eligible, which is insane, but that's what's happening. So. But let's get back to the football. Anything else on the Fighting Irish? Well,
I really think that the offensive coordinator sort of has to take a look in the mirror also.
Okay.
I don't think bad, because it was at the beginning of the year. I used to sit on the couch and watch Kelly and call every play I could when he and Tommy Reese ran the offense.
Right.
But at the beginning of the year, I was sitting there watching these games, and all of a sudden I go, wow. This is something I've been looking for forever, but I haven't been able to see it. Misdirection and slow screens. We never ran a slow screen.
Right.
And some of these things and going on hard counts, getting under the center, and occasionally putting not an actual fullback, but a guy in that position, a tight end usually, where they could block for the lead back. So I think then all of a sudden the last 2 or 3 games, I'm watching them and going, wow, looks like they reverted back to the old days.
I see.
So I think the offensive coordinator should really take a look at these films and say, listen, we got to get back to this stuff where we can keep the defense off balance. I've said it before, and I'll say it many times again. An offensive team is supposed to be offensive.
Right.
We've become defensive a lot on offense, and that's a pattern for failure.
So, in your experience, obviously through college and the pros, self-scouting is probably something that you were used to doing. Obviously, you want to. Not only do you want to see the trends of what the other team is doing defensively, offensively, but you want to see what your trends are, right? It's like, are we running the same play on third down every time? We're running the same play, And so to your point, they need to do a little bit more kind of reflection on what they're doing.
We did it all the time. We always critiqued what we were doing against defenses, and we know what the defense. They see us on film. We know what they're going to do. But you really have to study yourself.
Right.
Are you getting into a bad rhythm?
Yep.
Where every 3rd and 8 you're thrown to X person on the left side.
Right.
You've got to spread the ball around. You've got to you've got to be offensive. You've got to keep the defense always guessing.
Right.
And keep them on their heels. It slows them down, and once you have to get slowed down and have to start thinking, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to have. Listen, and it all starts. I think we agree on the line with those linemen because they're opening the holes and they're providing the protection. But at the end of the day, too, a little creativity sometimes, something out of the box thinking is very helpful.
And that, again, gets the offensive line, gives them a little protection.
Yep.
I wasn't terribly, I thought our pass protection against Southern Cal was good.
Okay.
I think, everybody says, well, Notre Dame's going to really be able to run the ball against Southern Cal.
Yeah.
We didn't really run the ball against Southern Cal. Right. We got a few first downs here and there. We had a big run here or there. But there wasn't any real consistent drive. We had too many 3-and-outs.
Gotcha.
You could probably put it on Southern Cal because, from California.
Yep.
And all their games now have been in the heat.
Yes. Yeah.
They play in Arizona heat.
Right.
California has been hot forever now.
Yep.
So now when they get back to South Bend, it was in the 50s and in the high 40s during the game. So that keeps you a lot fresher. So maybe they looked better because they got into some weather because they're not deep on defense. So their defensive line has to play a lot of the game, and if you're playing in 100-degree weather, people in the second half are going to blow you out. But now they've been able to stay fresh.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Maybe this was the reason that they were a lot better defensively than we actually thought they were.
Okay, but you have to also give the Notre Dame credit for their defensive. If Caleb Williams is the Heisman Trophy leading candidate and he's one of several, they made him look pretty, normal. Pretty average.
The one thing I really took out of that whole game, he's a good quarterback. And he's going to be the number 1 pick, and he deserves to be the number 1 pick. But one thing I would tell him is something I saw on the sideline.
Yeah.
When Notre Dame kicked him around a bit, he got on the sideline, and he was yapping with the head coach.
Okay.
And it was about the offensive line.
Yep.
And that's the last thing, especially a young quarterback wants to get in, is you start talking negative against your linemen because then they're going to come faster at you.
Yeah.
So you better take care of those guys. You take the blame, and he was getting beat up pretty good, and he's not used to that.
Not used to it. No.
So it's a different thing. So that really caught my attention because if he takes that attitude to the pros, watch out.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be a long day.
And the other thing too about the sideline, you're absolutely right. It doesn't matter the level now, high school, college, pro. There's a camera on somebody all the time. So you don't want to act like a child or you're like spoiled brat because somebody will pick that up and they'll show your teammates or show your family. So you have to be a little bit more mature.
Well, a quarterback in that situation has to. The alignment all sit together.
Yep.
So a quarterback has to come off the field, chat with the head coach for a minute, then go right to his offensive line and say, "What can we do better here?"
Right.
And really get them involved and give them the respect they need because they're the real workers in the game.
Okay.
The quarterback, we get all the glory and all the money and all that stuff, but the guys up front, because of them, we get that glory.
I got you. Okay, so we changed up a little bit. We talked about Caleb a little bit, and I agree with you. I think he's going to be the number one pick, and I do think he's a good quarterback. But I don't know if you got to see much of the Washington-Oregon game the other day. With two really good quarterbacks.
I saw the whole game.
You saw the whole game, correct?
Yes, and I was really impressed.
Yeah.
Both quarterbacks, it was really touted as a battle between these two guys, and they both deserve it. They both had great stats going into the game. But they were interesting guys because they were, the kid from Washington was a transfer from Indiana.
Right.
He had 2 ACLs.
Yep.
And he's playing at this high rate, and I'm going, wow, I can't wait to see him.
Yeah.
And both of them started out very slow.
Right.
Like 1 and 4 each of them.
Yeah.
And I'm going, and it wasn't really good choices or whatever. And I'm saying, well, boy, are they really, deserving of all this?
Yeah, sure.
Then all of a sudden the games start going, and you start, whoa!
Right.
And this kid was dropping them in over every defensive guy.
Very
it was
accurate.
a really fun game, and I think right now the kid from Washington is the front runner for the Heisman.
Yeah, I would say, and Bo Nix is a nice player too. A transfer from Auburn, he played a good game. I like him as well. For some reason, this is maybe my prejudice. I never, for some reason, this because I'm silly saying it today. I don't like left-handed quarterbacks. I don't know why. I like but that being said, Penix is probably one of the best college quarterbacks, and Tua right now is probably one of the best NFL quarterbacks. So both left-handed. So what do I know?
Well, you go back to the old school where they thought the left-hander could not. Kenny Stabler.
Yeah.
He'd never make it in the pros because he's left-handed, and you got to change. You used to think your blind side's on your left. Now the blind side's going to be on your right. Yep. Which is all wives' tales. I don't know who started it, but it's all crazy. And if you can throw the ball and you got a head on your shoulders, you're going to play no matter what you are.
Well, what a character he was, though, huh?
Snake was good. Snake was a fun guy. He loved life, and God bless him. He was a great one.
Yeah, that was if you grew up, like most of us, if we were East Coast people or Jet fans or whatever fan you were, you hated that Raider organization. I mean, the whole team, you just despised them. But Pittsburgh,
we played the Raiders more than anybody.
That's right,
because we played them in preseason, we played them regular season, we played in the playoffs.
Yep.
Every road to the Super Bowl, we had to
catch off the tip ball. Was,
I was right there, 5 yards away from it, and it was that put a whopping $5,500 into everybody's pocket.
Wow, yeah.
Now that's tip money.
And for those, if you've never seen that play, for our younger audience, go watch it because at the time it was not legal to double touch. In other words, if the offensive player touched it first, then Franco Harris catching that ball on the last play of the game to win a playoff game against the then Oakland Raiders would have been illegal. And they actually huddled. The refs, didn't they huddle and did make the decision?
Forever, and there's no way that they could have reversed the call.
Right, they would have never gotten
the people. We were holding the fans back, and I would have been concerned with Oakland's health had they reversed the calls. But it was a great game, and John Madden, God bless him, to his dying day, he hated that call and he hated that. He thought it was fixed and whatever, and it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because years later, the reason why the rule was put in that you can't fumble the ball forward and recover it was also because of Snake and Dan Casper, if you remember, Dave Casper. Yeah, they were about to lose a game, I think, to the Chargers. I'm not sure, but Stabler just knew he was going to be sacked, and as he was going down, just threw the ball underhand forward, and then somebody else tipped it, and Dave Casper lands out in the end zone, and Oakland won the game. And then they changed the rule and said, okay, when you fumble, it goes back to the spot of where you fumbled it. So that's that. Was
that's all Dave Casper.
But he figured out his snake found a way to win that game, which was amazing. So, okay, where do we go from here? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think as far as Notre Dame's concerned, I think we're going to run the table.
Nice.
we got Pitt this week, then we got the Clemson.
And that game is where?
At Clemson.
Oh, at Clemson.
So it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough road to hoe down there.
Okay.
But I think we got to get a little healthy. Our wide receivers have been banged up for about 2 or 3 weeks. I think by the time we get to Clemson, we'll be fine.
Hopefully, the bye week will help on that.
Yeah, that always does. It comes at a. Probably could have come a week earlier. It should have been before the Louisville game.
Yeah.
To get us a little rest. But that's the way it happens, and go from there.
Okay, so then after that, so we have, so you're right.
Wake Forest, and you got Pitt.
Wake at home, and then you're at
Wake at home and
Stanford.
At Stanford. And Stanford, they thought they were bad and not, nothing this year, and they're changing coaches, but all of a sudden they come up and they beat Colorado.
Down 29-0 at the half.
Down 29-0. I mean, that's one of the real. Dion's going to really realize what coaching is all about now.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're down 29 and can't hold on.
Yeah, whatever that halftime reaction was when they went in, they got to reverse that, because whether they were celebrating or thought the game was over, boy, that's a life lesson right there. That you're up 29-0 at home to a Stanford team that, like you said, a lot of people don't think is very good. And you lose, and I think it was overtime, right? 46-43 or something like that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Crazy, yeah. So, okay. And what do you, NFL, I think Pittsburgh is coming up there by.
Yeah, we're coming back, and it's going to be interesting to see because, with a couple injuries, we got to get a couple of defensive guys healthier. And I think Kenny Pickett, is doing well. Everybody, you see that so much throughout. More in the pros than you see in college, but the young quarterbacks, everybody wants to throw them out so early.
Yeah.
Just like the Jets. I mean, this kid Wilson he's good. Let him play. He's going to make mistakes. Pickett's going to make mistakes. All these every young quarterback, me included.
Yep.
When we first got in the game, we all made mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's something that the fans have to realize, and you're just going to try to limit them a little more each week.
Yep.
And I think that's what's happening in Pittsburgh. I think it's happening with the Jets and the Giants. Both have young quarterbacks, so you got this is your future. I think they gave up on Sam Darnold too early.
I think you're right about that. I think that's part and parcel with being in New York, right? The fans, the media, then they just make these knee-jerk reactions. Okay, get rid of this guy. I think you're right about Darnold.
And you have so much, back in the day there was no ESPN. There was every, you had 3 minutes of sports every night on your news, and so that you could hide a little bit better back then.
Right.
But now you got all the ESPNs in the world, and they're really bad mouthing Wilson there for a long time, and I just kept saying stop.
Yeah,
stop.
The kid really has got.
Let him play and let him make his mistakes, because if you see someone. He's obviously a bright kid.
Yeah.
But if you see someone who has the arm he has, and has the legs he has, you got to stick with him, because those are two things that you really can't coach.
Yeah.
And
I really think, and I'm a Jet fan, but I think Aaron Rodgers, just being around him, has helped him immeasurably. Just being able, just in his ear, calming him down, whatever it is. Because Aaron believes in the kid too.
Yeah.
And he's like, his plan was to hand the ball over after 2 years. So we'll see what happens with Aaron. But I agree with you, and it's way too much. I think, listen, getting back to Pickett or you or whoever plays the position. What's the old saying? If it were easy, anybody would do it, or everybody would do it. Right? It's not easy. These are not easy jobs.
And I hope there's been rumors that Rodgers is trying to come back this year. And there's no real need for him to be back this year.
There's no need for him.
Stay out the whole year, get good and healthy.
Yes.
And come back next year. And, this just having with Wilson having his full year under his belt,
Yeah.
I think it'll be a mound of good in that, because now next year he can sit behind Rodgers and take it from there.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's no need for him to rush it, but I think a lot of what he's doing, and I think he's a pretty bright guy, because I think a lot of what he's doing, and he did a lot of things right, just being in New York and taking the guys to Broadway shows or being in all the games and being visible and just like soaking in New York, right? But I think a lot of what he's doing is really for the psychosis of not only his teammates, but for the New York media and the New York fans. It's like, okay, people see him and kind of go, yeah, well, this guy's trying, and he's got a real passion. He's not sitting out in California on his couch, drinking milkshakes. So I like that. I mean, I really didn't have. I mean, I think he's obviously he's a great quarterback. He's had a great career, one Super Bowl win, but at the end of the day, well, Dan Marino doesn't have any Super Bowl wins either. So.
Now that one win he got was against my Steelers. So
okay, there you go. All right, so we have this has been Hanratty'S Huddle, and with Terry Hanratty, and we thank you for joining us, Terry. Till next time,
Dave, I'm looking forward to it.